The largest warship of the United States Navy, the USS Gerald R. is now sailing toward the waters of Latin America. This order came directly from the Pentagon, the heart of America's military. It's not just a routine mission, it's a sign that something serious is happening in the Western Hemisphere. In the past few months, American warships and aircraft have been attacking small boats suspected of carrying drugs across the Caribbean Sea. Now, the operation is getting bigger. There are even signs that future attacks could reach land targets, especially inside Venezuela. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell made the announcement. He said the decision came from President Donald Trump himself. The goal is to fight international drug networks and criminal groups that threaten American security. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered the USS Gerald R. and its entire strike group to move under the U.S. Southern Command, known as SOUTHCOM. That's the part of the U.S. military that handles operations in Latin America. The mission is simple: to watch, detect, and stop illegal activities that could harm the United States or its neighbors. This move shows how much Washington is focusing again on its own backyard. The Caribbean has always been a key region for America, but in recent years attention shifted to Europe and Asia. Now that focus is coming home again. The USS Gerald R. is not an ordinary ship. It's the biggest and most advanced aircraft carrier ever built by the United States. Over 300 meters long, it can carry more than 70 aircraft, from fighter jets to helicopters. On its huge deck, it launches FA-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers, E-2D Hawkeye radar planes, C-2A Greyhound cargo aircraft, and MH-60 Seahawk helicopters. Together, they form a small floating air force. The ship also carries more than 4,000 crew members. 2 nuclear reactors power it for years without needing refueling. The Ford doesn't travel alone. It's protected by 4 powerful destroyers: USS Winston Churchill, USS Bainbridge, USS Mahan, and USS Forrest Sherman. There may also be a fast attack submarine moving quietly below the surface. Reports say the Ford may take about a week to cross the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. No one knows exactly where it will stop, but experts believe it will operate near Venezuela or the southern Caribbean. According to Fox News, around 10,000 U.S. troops are already deployed across the region. With the Ford arriving, nearly 14% of the U.S. Navy's combat ships will be under SOUTHCOM's control. That's a very large presence for an area that usually stays quiet. Aircraft carriers like the Ford are floating cities. They can control air and sea space hundreds of miles around them. They can launch attacks far inland or serve as a command center for special operations. Wherever the carrier goes, America's influence follows. It's a signal that the U.S. can act anywhere, anytime. In the past, anti-drug operations in the Caribbean were done by small patrol boats and surveillance planes. Now the U.S. is sending a full supercarrier. That means this is no longer a small mission, it's a major military operation. Defense Secretary Hegseth recently confirmed that U.S. forces have carried out 9 strikes against suspected drug smuggling boats since early September. 7 of them happened in the Caribbean Sea. 2 others took place in the eastern Pacific Ocean. And now there are hints that the next targets could be on land, inside Venezuela. In recent weeks, U.S. Air Force bombers, the B-1 and the B-52, have flown close to Venezuela's coastline. Some of those missions were joined by Marine Corps F-35B stealth fighters. Pentagon officials called them bomber strike demonstrations, but in simple terms, they were clear messages of power. President Trump also confirmed that the CIA has been given permission to run secret missions against the Maduro government. Nicolás Maduro, Venezuela's leader, has been accused for years of drug trafficking and corruption. Since 2020, he has been officially charged by U.S. courts, and Washington is offering $50 million for his capture. With all this happening, the arrival of the Ford is more than a naval move. It's the start of a new phase in America's actions in Latin America, a phase where U.S. power could once again reach deep into the region, not just to stop drugs, but to shape politics. Analysts from Jane's Defense Weekly and the War Zone agree. This deployment sends a loud message. If a supercarrier enters the Caribbean, it means Washington is ready for serious business. It's a show of strength meant for everyone, from drug cartels to foreign governments. Russia and China have both increased their activities in Latin America over the past few years. Russia has sent warships and bombers to visit Cuban and Venezuelan ports. China has expanded trade and infrastructure projects across the region. The US clearly wants to remind them who still controls these waters. Even though there's no open war in the Caribbean, the military buildup feels like one. Destroyers, submarines, surveillance aircraft, all forming a net around the area. And now the Ford arrives to lead them. Running a ship like the Ford costs millions of dollars a day. Fuel for jets, food for thousands of sailors, endless maintenance. It's an expensive mission. But for Washington, that cost is worth it, because every time the Ford appears on the horizon, it changes the balance of power. When the Ford sails into the Caribbean, it won't need to fire a single shot to make an impact. Its presence alone tells everyone what America wants to say, that it's still the main power in the Western world. For people living in the region, the picture is mixed. Some see the ship as protection against smugglers and pirates. Others see it as a warning that Washington is tightening its grip again. But either way, the Ford's arrival changes everything. Inside the ship, the crew is always busy. Jets take off and land every few minutes. Engines roar, radar screens glow, and orders echo through steel corridors. It's like a small city that never sleeps, always ready to move, always ready to fight. From the outside, it may look peaceful, but the meaning is deep. The Ford's movement shows that the US is reshaping its global focus, from wars far away back to the regions closest to home. When this supercarrier crosses the Atlantic, the world will be watching. Because when a ship of that size moves, it's never random. It's part of a plan, a signal, a message. In modern geopolitics, power is not always shown by battles or bullets. Sometimes it's shown by a single ship quietly cutting through the ocean, heading exactly where it wants to be. The USS Gerald R. Ford carries more than aircraft and weapons. It carries America's will to act, to lead, and to remind the world who still rules the sea.